Oh my gosh, damn goodness. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, ladies. Hello, everybody in between. Welcome to Box Office Addict Wednesday edition, you sexy people. I'm ready to make love to every single one of you. I've been watching a lot of Good Doctor clips lately. The autistic surgeon who likes to scream. Pretty entertaining. Had a very eventful day. Was out on a walk and a woman popped out from a building and said, "Young man, young man." And I turned around, a little worried. She says, "Can you come help me?" I walk through the building. There's a party there for a bunch of elderly people. Probably about 40 of them. They're celebrating Fred's birthday or something. I didn't know who Fred was. Apparently, a gentleman had fallen on the floor at this party, and there was nobody to help pick him up. Just this woman, who was probably in her 50s. So she said, "Can you help me pick this man up?" And I was like, "I got this." I grabbed him by myself, both arms, lifted him up, put him in the chair, patted him on the back. I'm like, "You okay?" He said, "Thank you, sir." And then everybody clapped for me. I walked out like a hero. I didn't even say a word. I knew what I had done. So what did you do with your day? Okay, so let's talk about these movies here right now, because whatever. Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's done. It's at 475 million. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant is at 15 million worldwide. I mean, that's not great. Maybe this is on a streaming service. I don't fucking know. Air, starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, directed by Affleck, honestly isn't doing bad. It's just this movie, they spent too much money on it. It's made $85 million, but it cost like $70 million to make, and then Amazon spent like $90 million on the movie. I really don't know what they were thinking. This movie should have cost like $30 million at the most, and that should have been, then this would have been a pretty successful box office run. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves has made 200 million worldwide, so it's kind of scratched its way to okay numbers, but unfortunately this movie cost $150 million to $200 million doesn't mean anything. Once again, unfortunately. John Wick Chapter 4, they haven't updated the international box office again because they never do. So we're at 406 million. I'm sure it's higher than that. So far, it is the highest grossing film of the franchise. I think 430 million is definitely possible once we get updated numbers. Love Again. A young woman tries to ease the pain of her fiance's death by sending romantic text to his old cell phone number and forms a connection with the man his number has been reassigned to. Ooh. That's a good idea for a little Hallmark rom-com. $2.3 million opening weekend. Jesus Christ. In 2,700 theaters. That's terrible. What does that mean? That means the average at the theater was $2,700. Oh my God. Was that even worth releasing? Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. Oh my God. This is so cringy to me. They did an adaptation of this, and I've just how people are trying to talk about it online, like it's of the utmost importance that people go see and understand this movie. That's such a major work. It's at $12 million. It's not doing great. 51% drop. Evil Dead Rise, pretty steep drop of 51%. Isn't honestly outperforming the remake from 2013 that much domestically. That movie made 54 million in 2013. This one's at 54 million in 2023. It is doing better internationally. It's at 115 million worldwide. I'm guessing at most this movie cost $20 million. So once again, horror films are where it's at theatrically. I would not release a horror film on a streaming service right now. Mario had its biggest drop ever, 54%. Kind of a shockingly big drop. I guess Guardians cut into it. I expected a 48% drop, not a 54. Still, Mario's at 1.1 billion. It's almost going to be at 1.2 billion. I do wonder if 1.4 or 1.5 is out of the question now because it's dropping kind of steep domestically. Because at one point it looked like this movie might make $650 million in the States and $750 million internationally. But having said that, it's at $644 million internationally. That's insane. These are great numbers. So, I mean, it doesn't really need to prove anything at this point. It's already by far the biggest hit of the year. and I don't see anything touching it. So let's get to the main event. Let's get to the cream of the crop. Let's talk about this, because there is actually a lot to discuss here, whether this is a positive or negative thing, and all the stands on Twitter. I'm so sick of seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 3 shit on Twitter and everybody sucking James Gunn's dick. All I've seen on Twitter the last week are good surgeon clips, which I'm fine with. In fact, I encourage it. Then I'm seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 3 clips put up and people praising James Gunn as the only genius writer-director that exists right now in comic book movies. And then people talking about Barry and its new season and worshiping Bill Hader. So we have a $118 million opening weekend. Not great. Not horrible, by the way, but not great. I mean, Guardians 1 opened to $94 million, made $775 million. Guardians 2 opened to $146 million, made $870 million. This is the lowest opening weekend, not of the franchise, obviously, the first one, but the first one's $94 million was more impressive in 2014 than this $118 million is in 2023. I mean, this isn't that much better than Ant-Man 3. And this isn't as good as Wakanda Forever or Doctor Strange 2. Both of those opened, like over $180 million. So for the third film in what is supposedly a beloved franchise, you would expect better numbers. So this is kind of more in line with what happened to the recent Thor movie by Taika Waititi. And I think it's because the Infinity War Endgame thing where they almost set up that these two franchises were going to cross over and they didn't hit that mark. It's like two separate movies. But $318 million worldwide so far. It's been out for a couple days. Internationally, the film's actually doing really well. It opened I think 289 million worldwide. Although I believe Ant-Man 3 also opened to like 250 million worldwide. And that only ended up doubling that. It got a horrible multiplier. It just did absolutely abysmal numbers. I've seen some people try to defend Ant-Man 3 and be like, well, it still made money, it just didn't do great. I'm like, no, it was a bomb. It made $475 million on like a $200 million budget and then at least $100 million in marketing. So yeah, it didn't do well. This, on the other hand, I do think is going to do better. The question is this going to outgross the first movie or second movie? I would say as of right now, it's possible that it outgrosses the first movie. I think 800 million is possible for this internationally. However, I also think it's very likely that this makes less than the first movie. I definitely don't think this is making $870 million. I'm just throwing that out the window. That's not happening. So it ain't going to reach 2. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't see this doing much more than $700 million. And considering it cost 200, actually, I think this one cost 250, and the marketing and the back end, I mean, it's not going to be a bomb. This movie will break even. Don't get me wrong. But it's still the Marvel decline. Everyone's trying to deny Marvel fatigue and being like, it doesn't exist. You're full of shit just because the movies are doing worse and getting worse reviews and overall just being less received well in social media and by mainstream audiences. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. Yeah, just because every sign that we could possibly have that there's a decline means there isn't a decline. They're too fucking front-loaded, man. Like this, there's no way this is going to have amazing holds week to week. You can already tell. This most of the business has to be done in the first week or two. Where the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the word of mouth was magical. I just don't think this franchise stayed relevant in the same heat that it had a few years ago. And if you look at the reviews, this is the worst reviewed movie of the 3 films, which is crazy to me. I thought for sure this would get better reviews than Guardians 2. But like I said, a lot of people on Twitter are trying to treat this film as a masterpiece and loving it and trying to say James Gunn's a genius and all that. Okay, you guys can have that. That's fine. But I don't think it's a super positive sign, because what do they have besides this? Now that Guardians is out, like, what's left? The Marvels? Is that going to make $1 billion? I mean, I don't see the positives here. However, though, Chris Pratt having the number 2 and number 1 movie, even though it's a voice role in Super Mario Brothers, I mean, this dude is legit just a movie star. Last year he had Jurassic World 3, that made $1 billion. I mean, everything he touches right now, for the most part, is a hit. So the big thing I'm taking away is that Chris Pratt is bankable and Hollywood needs to lean on him. And that whole thing about him comparing himself to Jesus, I'm like, what if he is Jesus? That wouldn't be the worst Jesus, Chris Pratt. I mean, think about it. If Jesus lived amongst us, what if God was one of us? And it was Chris Pratt. If Chris Pratt was Jesus, that would be a pretty good Jesus, man. It's like an 8.5. It's not my peak Jesus. It's not my ideal Jesus, but it's a damn good Jesus. So, I don't know. Yeah. He's definitely the coolest Christian celebrity out there. I remember Kirk Cameron. That used to be the standard. It was Kirk Cameron. We've come a long way. And then Beau is Afraid from Ari Aster, of course, is bombing because it's a pointless movie that nobody wants to go see, even though Scorsese says it's amazing. And it's 2 hours and 59 minutes, and it's blah, blah, blah bullshit. Go put it on your letterbox and then pretend that you actually have a unique perspective on anything. Avatar: The Way of the Water. It's pretty much done. It looks like 2,321,000,000 is where it's going to end up. And then Joyland, this movie that I don't know. The youngest son in a traditional Pakistani family takes a job as a backup dancer in a Bollywood-style burlesque and quickly becomes infatuated with the strong-willed trans woman who runs the show. Of course. Of course that's what this movie is. What else would it be? You know? What else would Joyland be about? 65, starring Adam Driver, has driven itself to 59.8 million. And, damn. There's just a lack of stuff out right now. I mean, there's Guardians and Mario, but we need something else to boom the market a little bit here. But, yeah. Chris Pratt. He has definitely defeated Chris Pine and Chris Evans. Chris Hemsworth. He is the Alpha Chris. And we must bow before him. Thank you for listening. Sorry that these haven't been uploading on the Sunday frequency as normal, and sorry I haven't been making a lot of content lately. I know. Well, here's the problem. We live in a monoculture. Everything's been diluted so much. You know how many YouTubers I used to follow that had millions of subscribers that make videos now where they're crying because they can't make enough money and they're not getting enough views anymore and they've been making a living for 10 years? Well, think about that person, and then me, where I was already homeless, basically. You know? There's just not a lot of incentive to make content anymore. It's either upload shorts and try to game the algorithm, or just keep making the stuff you're making and not get picked up by the algorithm, because, once again, I said it's too scattered now. We're in a weird era of content where there's just too much shit now. It's sort of like with the writer's strike. They're like, well, we want to get paid more, but it's like, well, there's too many of you. There's too many streaming shows. There's too many of everybody making everything. Remember when there was like 6 podcasts? And now there's like 1 million podcasts. I'm saying that weird podcast, but there's like 1 million of them now. And every celebrity, every talk show host, every musician has a podcast now. And they all have the same conversations. I'm becoming numb to this. Every short I see, every video I see, for the most part, everybody's talking about the same thing. Nobody has anything to say. Everybody is having the same 10 conversations over and over again in a loop for infinity. And nobody wants to make new videos anymore. And stuff that was fun and interesting doesn't get done. And then people that were fun YouTubers or edgy content creators, they've all just become cucks, simps, whatever pejorative you want to use. So, I don't know. It's unfortunate. It's like you just have to settle for making stuff that can go on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and hope that picks up. They're even trying to marketing things that way now with mainstream stuff. Tucker Carlson's going to have a show on Twitter. I mean, what the hell is going on? That's all I have to say. What the hell is going on? Anyway, thank you for everyone who's continued watching through the years. I love you. I always have. And please join our Discord. Watch movies with us on Friday. Talk about movies and whatever other stuff that us incel Kino makers do in my Discord chat. And yeah, that's it. That's all there is. Have fun.